All right. Well, I've got probably some explaining to do, but the reason why I haven't posted any video in the last week is because, well, school is popping up and my boss is like, "Hey, we need you to come in real fast this week. We can't tell you why. We just need you in as quick as possible because my boss was very worried about the movie not going as planned, and that if I wasn't there adding on top, it would just make the load of it worse. That's really all I can say for that. But Project 1NS is going to be a great movie. That being said, it's not about the movie today, it's about a crossover event. Now, this one has been requested. I've already done one with the UNSC and the United Planets in a faction fight, but what would happen if the United Planets was now put in their universe, or if the IU, the Interstellar Union, was now put in that universe. The Interstellar Union, in case you haven't read, go read it. I'm not going to spoil anything. So, in case you don't know the Interstellar Union, I'm not going to spoil anything. So, what would happen if they were instantly put in the Halo universe, or better yet, maybe put in the universe before the Covenant, before that timeline of the Covenant? What would happen? Well, the first thing the immediate reaction of the UNSC would happen is they would instantly notice that there's another human world or a few other human worlds that are settled and that have a decent chunk of people. Not just, tens, hundreds of millions, but billions of people. They would realize this and immediately send support or whatever they can to those humans. But very soon they find out that those worlds are completely different than what they imagined. They imagined somewhere similar to Earth or possibly Iridia or many of the other UNSC colonies that are well developed. But in reality, the colonies would be thousands of years more developed and would instantly have a technological advantage when it comes to the conflicts that they could fight. Their technology would be completely different and would just be godlike comparison to the UNSC's. There would be no comparison between the two forces, and at the same time, I think the very best reaction that the UNSC could give is sending a scouting party to the planet. But knowing the United Planets, they are not very fond of people trying to send what they don't want on their territory, even if it's for a peaceful demonstration without a warranted reason to come close to the orbital defense systems. The orbital railguns will probably target whatever ship comes close. So a first contact scenario, I could see it going one of three ways, not two. There's a third way. You'll be surprised. The first one is with peace, and both sides know that they're both human. They both recognize that they both stand for something, but they both are very different in nature. As much as the UNSC wants to say that they are similar to the United Planets, they are not. You see, the UNSC is not a peace loving organization, it is not a democratic organization. The United Planets is both of those. For the most part, the United Planets would definitely be the shining light and beacon for colony worlds of the UNSC, and this would be a very, very big issue that the UNSC has to decide on what they'll do when that time comes. The first way this can go is if the UNSC and the United Planets sign a peace treaty and they don't attack each other. Basically, they become friends very quickly. The second way is that they're not very fond of one another due to the fact that they're so different. It's obvious. They're super different. They're from completely different universes. It would make sense if they were not very fond of each other. It would make complete sense. I mean, look at the United Planets and the NC and the Osco Empire. All of those superpowers, all of them do not like the United Planets, and they're in the same universe. They don't like the United Planets because of the differences they have. Imagine what the UNSC would feel. It'd be completely discriminatory against United Planet citizens. Completely discriminatory. That's, in my opinion, that is the difference. Because you're not winning anything when it's that discriminatory. The third and final option, which is the one that not many people realize is an option, is that these two don't talk to each other. They don't know that they're there. As stupid as it sounds and as unrealistic as it sounds, it might be the most realistic. Think about it. Space, the galaxy that we live in, has over 600 billion planets. And the fact they found one world at least with a human population similar to that of the Sol system, that's outrageous. That'd be almost pretty much unheard of. Special guest. What do you want, special guest? He's a special guest. He's a special guest. But it's not unheard of that you probably wouldn't even know they're there until the right timing. And it really does depend, because the human race did not know of the Covenant before the 26th century. They didn't even know they were out there. Humanity thought they were the only species up until that point. There's absolutely no way the human race would be any different for if a human colony was transferred maybe thousands of light years from Sol. There would be no way of knowing unless you sent a scouting party to that region. There would be no way to know. And I think that is going to be the kicker here. It's a matter of if they find out, and if they do, where are the United Planets located? But we're going to say what would happen if not just what will happen if this goes peacefully or very violent. This could end very badly. If the United Planets does want to meet the UNSC in a peaceful manner, chances are the meeting itself will be peaceful. Because the UNSC probably thinks they'll have a decent advantage over the United Planets, but looking at their tanks, looking at their technology, they'll slowly realize they're the ones that are outclassed. In terms of technology, in terms of military hardware, they're outclassed more than just one time. They're outclassed to the point where it's just not even worth comparing. Maybe if it's maybe an average of 50 years for every class, and that's still over maybe a 120 times of class. That is how different these two are. Or 12. That points out a horrifying truth. The UNSC would most likely not try to do violently, because even if they may have an advantage and a military advantage in the beginning, they don't know this power. This is completely different. And when they scan the planet for population and all that, they'll realize they have an immense population. The UNSC that we know of has 38 billion people. That's all we know of. So I'm going to use that as the major distributor here. The United Planets is nearly half that on two worlds. And the funny thing with that is that the UNSC has no clue that the United Planets exists. The moment they find the United Planets, they'll realize that they have a rich manpower pool that can easily grab everything they can and throw it at the UNSC. And knowing that they can instantly grab and use their population, even a 3-to-1 military advantage may not be enough to stop the United Planets. It may not be enough. I mean, hell, you could even look at the numbers for the UNSC, and it's as though they've got like 147 million personnel that are active, and it's only 0.4% of the population. Well, guess what? You put that into regular numbers, and you actually get somewhere around 38 billion. Huh, would you look at that? Yes, I did the fucking math. Don't bother asking me why. I did. But that's what's funny. And what makes this even better is that out of 38 billion people, only about 147 million are soldiers. For the United Planets, you have a 17.9 billion people, and out of that, 57.1 million. The United Planets is significantly less mobilized than the UNSC. But does that mean they're going to be less effective? Both sides' militaries are strong. There's no doubting both of their militaries are strong. And I think with the United Planets here, I think a lot will change in the incoming war with the Covenant. I think a lot will change, and I think you guys will probably understand why it'll change. Because now the UNSC has a new ally, a potential ally that can produce their equipment for the war. And this new ally is probably going to be very useful in a long-term reasoning. But I think they're also a good reason why some of the things that you'll see in upcoming videos will be so different than what you normally have seen. First things first, let's just say it went peacefully. Everything went according to plan, everything went well, and the UNSC and the United Planets like each other very much. They want to create a military alliance, they want to start trading with one another, they want to immediately get in touch with one another. That automatically creates some problems. Number one, the United Planets stands for freedom of all worlds, not just one individual world or one individual nation. They spread democracy, and that is going to be basically the straw that broke the camel's back for the UNSC, because insurrection is already very rampant, and there are estimates that there could be as many as 30 million insurrectionists. Even though they have a military advantage of nearly 5-1, as you know from counterinsurgency campaigns, it doesn't matter how many more men you have than them. They will always get ahead as long as you are not paying attention close enough. If you are not paying close enough attention, you will fail. And with the insurrection, I have a feeling this number of 30 million could be higher. And I'm a little worried that the UNSC will have a massive problem. But the problem that arose from here will not be as big of a problem from the United Planets. Because here's why. Sure, there were 30 million in the original, but now that you have a freedom-spreading democracy right on their doorstep, they're going to welcome in democracy with open arms. And when the UNSC refuses that, now you see the really big gap in this paradox that comes way too much. You're like, well, wouldn't they be very supportive of their ally, but at the same time, they're very supportive of democracy. So it's a big problem the United Planets has to face. This provides some issues, but I can say with certainty the numbers now that would have rebels everywhere could be as many as that much. Yes, I'm not joking. That many rebels. Why? Democracy. It is that democracy and knowing that they have a better life, a better potential for life. They will most likely fight for that reason. And many more will most likely raise their arms in trying to remove the UNSC from power and creating maybe a Republican government. But you see, the United Planets isn't just all freedom and passion loving. There's also some things that they do understand. And I have a feeling that when these two nations make first contact, I have a feeling the United Planets is going to know the Covenant is there. I think they already know in the next few coming months of meeting each other, the United Planets will know of the Covenant's existence. And they're going to probably learn that the Covenant are not very nice to the human race. So I can see within 6 months, I can see humanity already preparing for the war with the Covenant, even though this is possibly around 20 years away. So now humanity will be ready when the war with the Covenant inevitably occurs. Even the United Planets is telling them that war is going to be inevitable. They even said, don't try to make peace. It's not worth it. They've probably seen what the Covenant are planning, and they probably know it's worthless to try to even speak to them peacefully. They probably realize it's not worth speaking the Covenant peacefully. So the United Planets and now the UNSC are worthy and capable of fighting off the Covenant much more efficiently. You will start to see the events of the normal Halo, as most of it will be normal. Barely anything will change in the beginning, but once you start going down that rabbit hole, one day you will see what happens the moment when everything turns on its head. This is only the introduction when first contact's made. The next video will be made about the Human Covenant War. Human Covenant War and what events led up to the beginning of that war. And then the next video after that will be the explanation of many battles that occur in the normal war and how they're changed when the United Planets comes in. But I can tell you this, the United Planets will be a safe haven for humanity. It's more advanced than most human worlds. It is much more advanced. It is much more economically stable. And the weapons that the United Planets can produce are vastly superior to that of the UNSC, and will most likely the UNSC might want those weapons. But we will immediately see But until then, you can say hello to my special guest today. Are you my special guest? He says yes. He says yes. Don't bother asking why he likes butt. He likes butt scratches. I don't know why. Do you like butt scratches? Yep, he likes butt scratches. But that's all I'm going to have for today. And I'm going to ask you guys, as always, if you like it on your own terms. I'm not going to force you to do anything, but at this point in time, it's a matter of if the UNSC are going to get into the fight with the Covenant soon before the 26th century. And if they do, I have a feeling the UNSC could hold them off for maybe a few more years to better understand the Covenant, or maybe try to have spies into the Covenant. Possibly. That may not work because, as you all know, sure, there are always going to be those who resist against the Covenant, but when you realize that those people have been called out for going against the government of the Covenant, the United Planets are going to need a lot more information than simply getting a spy. They will need to send like a drone or some piece of equipment to any place of the Covenant and learn more about what is going on in those places. But until that point in time, we are done. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Well, that's all I got to say. Keep in touch for the second one, and I think you guys will be very surprised at where it goes. Until next time.